we're live. He was pretty good. I think he was doing a lot of hand motions, so I think he got the essence of the character.
Of his rapper character?
Yeah. I was just telling Matt that I saw a guy rapping in the park today while I was running by.
A lot of this? What kind of hand motions were we talking about?
Yeah, just like swag. Swag to the camera.
How old?
Early 30s, mid 30s.
Too old to be filming singles in the park.
Too old to have swag?
No, you can have swag, but like you can't be a famous rapper getting started after 30.
In your mid 30s?
Yeah.
What have you been grinding?
Yeah, like where's he been rapping? Like why wasn't he rapping 10 years ago? I don't know.
Have you ever thought about rapping?
No. Have you?
Sometimes, on occasion. My friends in high school and I didn't really, but they would freestyle and we would record it in our dorm room.
It's really hard.
Yeah, they were pretty good, but yeah, it is very hard. But I feel like, isn't it like a skill that you could just learn?
Probably.
To reach like a certain baseline,
Yeah.
I think.
I would like to do like maybe some sort of battle rap, but I feel like
Like a roast battle?
yeah, like I'm not tough enough to be like a real rapper. I would have to do like who are those guys from New Zealand? Had like the rhinoceros.
I don't know.
Flight of the Conchords.
Okay.
They're like really, really lame though. That's the kind of rap I could pull off.
Yeah.
And it's not the kind of rapper I want to be.
It's funny, I just came across this YouTube channel where it's like these tech guys. They're like software engineers, but they're also stand-up comics. So these events are like basically like all tech audience, and they're just like roasting them with a lot of insider tech jokes. But it's like so nerdy, and it's just funny because they're like the main act, so they're roasting people, and they're like, you know, they're in charge. They're making fun of everybody, but like these guys are super, super lame. Just like programmers.
And you're like a tech guy.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Yeah. I mean, it's jokes about like the tools that you use to code and like,
Seems boring.
yeah. Or you know, like a lot of it is like roasting people's startups. So they're like, you know, who's got a company? And then they make fun of all the New York CEOs or like this, all the like San Francisco CEOs. So, you know, it's very deep in the tech world.
What are New York CEOs like?
A fraud.
San Francisco?
I don't remember what those were, but I got some of the jokes, but after a while it was just like, man, people pay, this is like in theaters, people are paying money to go like get roasted by these tech guys.
And these guys are making more money doing that than working in tech, presumably.
I think so, yeah. It's good work if you can get it.
I guess.
But back to,
If we rap our insults, do you think we could?
that's what I'm saying. Should we do a roast battle? Maybe not today, but prepare.
We're gonna have to work on that.
Yeah,
in advance.
prepare for a roast battle. Kind of like at Skankfest. Did you see this?
Yes,
Skankfest
I was
roast
very
battle?
impressed with their battle.
I like that there was some misdirection.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think Big J was smart enough, but he did pretty good.
I thought Big J won. Yeah.
Yeah,
The Lewis meltdown at the end was kind of crazy.
Lewis is pretty funny. I like Lewis.
Yeah, he. Did you watch the latest episode of Legion of Skanks where he just wouldn't stop spoiling The Last of Us?
No,
Have you seen The Last of Us?
no, I only saw I really didn't like the first season, and now the spoiler alert: the guy's dead, right?
You sick fuck! I haven't seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh well, if I knew it, like everyone knows, it's been all over the news. It's like, this dude talking about the shock. Like, if there are 50 headlines about this
Spoiler.
guy's shocking character development, he's probably dead.
Did you know the same thing? Something very similar happened to me with Game of Thrones season 6.
What was that?
That's when Jon Snow dies.
Ah.
And I remember I hadn't watched it, and then the New York Post put just a picture of Jon Snow like with blood around his hair, like he's clearly dead. And I was like, oh, like he dies at the end of the season. But to put that on the front cover of a newspaper seems like pretty insane to me.
But they got you. He wasn't dead.
Yeah, well then they took it away. Yeah, with the fake,
sacrifice,
with
right?
the fake out. Yeah, a show I recently watched on Netflix lost me with the fake death recently.
What show is this?
I don't know what it's called, but it's a show on Netflix with Ray Romano and Lisa Kudrow.
Okay, big, huge Ray Romano fan.
You like Everybody Loves Raymond?
I love Everybody Loves
I
Raymond.
hated that show.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Hated when it would come on after
Raymond,
Friends.
King of Queens, I'm with it.
Yeah.
Sitcoms based in New York, I'm a big fan.
But that's like a different. So there's like King of Queens, Everybody Loves Raymond, and I feel like the other side is like Friends, Seinfeld.
I like Seinfeld. Friends is not my favorite.
I think I just have a lot of nostalgia for it because I grew up watching it.
I didn't. I would watch Seinfeld every day.
I watch both.
Yeah.
So I watched both, and so that's why I didn't understand why people would pit them against each other, because I was like, I just like both. But I definitely did not like Everybody Loves Raymond. I hated his mom.
No, his mom is great.
I also hated his brother.
Everyone on that show is a gem. The brother's great. The wife is tremendous. Raymond's great. The father's great. I love the whole show.
Did you watch? That '70s show?
Yeah. Not like all the way through, but when we were kids, I watched it.
Yeah, I think I only liked Red on that one. That's his dad's name, right?
Yeah, no,
Red.
is there anyone else I liked? No.
It is funny how that they just the like whenever they would smoking weed scenes, the just like the first person camera. The one episode, like the one line that I remember I really liked from that show was this episode where they had Cheech and Chong
I remember that.
as guests, and they redo the basement, and then they're like he's describing it as like 2 inches to the left, like the entire basement is just moved 2 inches to the left, and they're like, what? I think they started talking to him about like his life or something, and he was like, yeah, one day just like the smoke cleared and I like decided to become, like change my life or something. And she's like, see, Frank, like he had an epiphany. And he was like, no, I mean like I ran out of weed and like literally the smoke cleared in my room.
That's a good one.
But I think I didn't watch too much of that. So back to this rap battle. So we could do like a best of 3 rounds.
Okay.
Insult roast battle.
Okay.
Have you seen the roast battle that those other guys host?
No.
They're like these guys from the Comedy Store that do like a roast battle league. And then they have like the judging is like honestly like kind of lame. They're just like there and they're like, yeah, you hit like a lot of really good punchlines and then you like really came out with some heat. But they have some pretty funny like roasts, and then I guess these guys compete in a circuit.
Okay, so maybe we'd start with each other and move into the big leagues.
So Tony Hinchcliffe was a guest on it recently.
He's the king.
Yeah, he was pretty good on Story Wars too. I thought he was funny.
He's funny.
He's
annoying.
I like him better when he's not on his own show because he's not taking it so seriously.
Yeah, I don't. Also, like he's good in smaller doses than like the full Kill Tony. I think.
Yeah, I think they're
better as a guest.
Better as a guest, yeah. Do you follow the Kill Tony Legion of Skanks subreddits?
No.
Are you on Reddit at all?
Not as actively as it sounds like you are, but I feel like I, when I wanted to know more about something, Reddit's one of the first places I look.
Well, is that because you Google it and it takes you to Reddit?
That's probably where it started.
They have a deal.
Yeah.
That's why. So Reddit, good hack in case you're curious. Good SEO hack. If you can rank on Reddit, you can get pretty good distribution on Google without doing months of SEO. For all the fans who need SEO advice.
Aren't we all?
So we'll start with more details to come on the roast battle.
I have a question for you. So you've got this mug from Barbados. Have you been to Barbados?
No, never, not once.
It's my friend I saw the other day, and his girlfriend's nanny died, and she went to Barbados for the funeral, which is
shit.
crazy enough on its own.
Yeah.
How often do you hear that? But apparently there's like a travel advisory to Barbados, and no one goes. It's really scary.
Barbados
Dangerous.
or the Bahamas?
Barbados.
Okay, because I read something similar about Nassau and like in the Bahamas that there's been a lot more I think petty crime, but like more like assault, robbery, all kinds of stuff. So the same is happening in Barbados.
That's what the word on the street is.
What do you think the cause of it is? Do they know?
I don't know if Barbados has ever been that nice. I don't know if it's the same thing as the Bahamas, but no, I don't know. Bad economy, tariffs,
Tariffs, yeah.
tariffs.
The crime on like an island must like that's the worst place to get mugged, right? Like on a beautiful beach.
Yeah, it's
You know,
not
I would
ideal.
think that in like a dark alley, you sort of
It's on you.
You were asking for it, but just like a nice nighttime beach walk. Get
Walking
extorted.
on the beach, almost anywhere, you're kind of asking for trouble. There's no one around.
Unless if you're at a quiet beach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beach is a
Shame.
daytime place.
So, yeah, I guess don't a lot of these islands, like in Bermuda, there's also, I think there's a lot of like wealth inequality in Bermuda. So it's like their parts of it are definitely like the hood.
When I was in Bermuda, it was like the summer after we graduated from high school, and we were gonna the hotel concierge just gave us bad information and was like, you can take the bus to this like party area, and it's like half an hour. And we're like, all right, that's cool. And then the bus was like, all right, this is the last stop, you have to get off the bus. And we were nowhere. So we just started walking down this road, and we saw a bar, and we walked in, and it was only like native Bermudans.
Yeah.
And they're just like staring at us like we had three heads. And
They
we're just
didn't
like,
want
can
you
you
there?
call it? They did not want us there. I'm like, can you call us a cab? Like, we don't know what's going on. And then the cab driver was like, you should never ever go back there. You were
Really?
in like a lot of trouble being in that bar. Like, he was
Yikes.
really freaked out.
Whoa. And he just drove you back to the hotel or something?
No, it just drove us to the club we were
The actual
planning on
place.
going to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he say why you were in danger?
And it was like a den of thieves and, criminals.
There's so close to where we got married in Santa Marta, there's very close to the airport hotels and resorts. And then you kind of get up to the city of Santa Marta, but if you keep going, there's this like fishing village where I guess it's become very popular for tourists and backpackers to go, but also where like ex-military, like a lot of like IDF, like ex-Israeli military people allegedly have like set up a small like stronghold.
What do they like, work for cartels and stuff?
I think. Well, I don't think it's like they're like trafficking necessarily. I do think
Security.
that there's like crime, but I think that they run like brothels and I think maybe some like they cater to the people who are going there for sex and drug tourism, and so they've kind of like commandeered this little area. Allegedly, I've never been, but
Sure.
speaking of crime on the beach. That sort of same vibe.
Shady characters are always at the beach.
Yeah, we didn't go that far, but I think some at least one of my friends, he spent like a few days out there while he was there for the wedding.
He's okay.
He survived.
He made it home?
He was hanging out with his laptop on the beach. So how dangerous could it be?
During the day, I bet it's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm sure it's fine during the day.
The fishermen come back at night and they want a laptop.
Yeah. You ever been mugged? Have you ever been
Yeah.
the victim of a crime? Where?
In Riverdale, in the Bronx, right by the old apartment.
No way.
It's like a block away.
From that apartment?
Yeah. By Key Food, by the grocery store.
Yeah, yeah.
I was walking over to meet Gabe, our old weed dealer, to buy drugs.
Okay.
And I remember like $300 in cash on me. And then these teenagers started following me down the block, and I was like, uh-oh.
This is no good. They were coming from both sides? Or
No, they were
you?
coming behind me, and I started to like pick up the pace. They circled around. They pulled out. All had box cutters.
Oh, okay.
And they're just like, "Give me your phone." I was like, "They don't know I have all this cash." So I gave them the phone, and then they just like, they didn't even run away. They just walked away. Then a police car came by, and I just like flagged them down, and they're like, "What's going on?" I was like, "I just got mugged like 1 minute ago."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Where'd they go?" They get in the car. So we got in the car and we started driving down the hill towards like Kingsbridge, and we saw them all, and they turned on the sirens, and all the kids like went off in different directions, and they followed one. And they found a box cutter, and I had to testify at a grand jury. It was
No
all
way,
family.
really? Wow.
But
I didn't know that it went
nothing
that far.
ever came about it after that, and I never got my phone back, of course.
Sounds like solid police work.
They called me, and they asked me if I could go to like the supermarket to ask for a copy of their security footage to like use in the grand. She's like, "This is not my job.
Why
like,
would
I have a job.
Why would this be your job?
I'm not gonna go to these great lengths to put a 15-year-old, jail or whatever they do to 15-year-old armed robbers."
That's insane that they would ask you to do it.
I was like, all right, yeah. I didn't do it.
We had we used to live in Long Island City. We had one incident where someone just walked into our building. Like, used to walk into the lobby. It was a big lobby.
I remember.
And then, there was like the front desk, and then there would be a lot of boxes and stuff in the back because they would just overflow from the package room. And this guy came in, and he just literally walked over to the box. I think they had been scoping it out because it did seem to happen during, like, it was just busy, so it seemed a little chaotic in the lobby. And he just walks to the back. The guy helps him, like, pick out the box, and then he just picks it up, walks to the front desk, signs for it, and then just walks out of the building. And then I think the next day or something, I was like, "Hey, like, I'm gonna pick up my package later," or I asked if I could pick up my package to the same guy, and he was like, "Oh, like it says here, you already picked it up." And I was like, "No, I didn't." And it turned into this whole thing where I had to reach out to the building. One of the other guys, like, I told him about it. He was cool. He showed me the security footage, and then he probably shouldn't have let me do this, but I recorded it like over his shoulder and saw what clearly happened, which is, it was you remember Boxed? They were like a Costco, and they were like a bulk delivery competitor. I think they're probably still around. It's called Boxed. Not a sponsor of the show, but if you want to be, we're accepting sponsors currently for our roast battle.
Yeah.
And this guy hands the package over to this guy. I see it on the footage, and so it's like, yeah, we've got him dead to rights. Like, he gave away my package, and the management company tried to like get out of paying for it. They were like, well, he doesn't like really work for us. He's like part of like a contracting service, and they gave us like this whole runaround for weeks just to get a $50 box reimbursed. When the cops came, like, I called the cops. They asked for security footage, and then they were shitting on the cops that responded because they were like, "Oh yeah, we don't employ like the brightest to be cops." I guess they were like the detectives, but they came by and they paid lip service, and then like nothing ever happened. They were like, "Yeah, take it up with your building." But that whole thing took like 6 weeks to get them to write us a $50 check.
Yeah, when I lived in Crown Heights, I had someone smash in my car window, and I called the police.
Oh, shit.
Just to like file a report, I guess, and they just never came.
They were like, "Why'd you waste our time?"
And then it was like freezing cold. I had to drive to White Plains with no window.
Did you put a bag on it?
I tried, but it flew out the second I got on the highway.
Like you were on the highway and it just sucked out?
Just gone.
You're like, all right, well, there's that.
Now I'm just going to be really cold for like 45 minutes to an hour.
Have you ever had to drive in the rain with bad windshield wipers?
Yeah, it's like impossible. You got to pull over. You die.
I got caught in like a really like heavy rainstorm with my mom's boyfriend. You know, I was maybe 8, 9 years old, and they used to have this like shitty beat up car that, you know, where like the back seat is just like one uniseat.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? They're kind of like a
bench.
Yeah. It wasn't like this, but it reminded me of like a Crown Vic, where it's just kind of like these big, sometimes leather or fake leather seats. And so this car didn't have windshield wipers, but it had a string that was attached to the windshield wiper. And so we were driving, this guy's driving, and he was driving while he was pulling the string, and it was pouring. Like, it was so hard to see. And I was like in the passenger seat, terrified of this guy like trying to drive like this, clearly not working. And we survived, obviously, but I remember vividly just how insane that was.
It's pretty clever, though.
The ingenuity behind pulling a string to drive.
He had a problem and he solved it. Like, gotta give him credit.
I don't know if he solved it. He tried to solve it.
He
tried to solve it. I think we were going to see my mom was working at Seatown at the time.
The supermarket?
Yeah.
Nice.
Seatown, town.
I used to go to Seatown.
We have one close by. It's awful.
It is a bad supermarket.
The supermarkets, I saw this on Reddit here recently, my number one source of news, that people complaining about, like, I used to work for one of these supermarkets here. They were like, do not ever, under any circumstances, buy the, like, in-house wrapped meat. They were like, here's what happens when first of all, like cheese and stuff, like mozzarella, when it goes bad, the sealed ones, they open it and then they put it in the deli for a few more days.
Okay.
And so that was like one thing. And then they were saying, like, for example, ground beef, you know, the one that's like unlabeled, it's like the supermarket's brand, that they, once it would go bad, like it would start to kind of gray, that they would take that, wrap it with new meat, and sell that.
I've got some of that in my fridge right now.
What did you buy?
It's some ground beef from the supermarket that, like, I haven't opened it up yet, but I eat a lot of ground beef from the supermarket. It will be fully gray on the inside.
It do be gray sometimes.
Yeah,
dude. And you never gotten sick?
Nah, I have a pretty good stomach.
Yeah, I've got a pretty iron stomach. Have you ever suspected that it's like smells or like
tastes bad? I don't know. I feel like, honestly, at that point, like, I feel like that's on the healthier side of the food I eat. Like, at least I'm cooking for myself. It's limited added fat. There's no sugar. The old ground beef is fine by me. I'm good.
Which RFK Jr. self-help book did you read this in?
I've not read any RFK Jr. books, but
Tim Dillon does a good
RFK.
One.
If you eat the ground meat,
after
it goes
I
bad.
don't like vegetables. There's only so much pasta you can eat.
What do you think the ratio of protein to vegetables on your diet is?
Probably like 30% protein.
Oh, you got to step that up.
60% carbs, 10% other.
So what's the fiber looking like?
I have a green juice almost every day.
Okay.
So that's like some vegetables. It's got like mixed greens, some fruit. Put powder like Metamucil in there, other various powders.
You put Nutrafol in there?
What's it called? It's not Nutrafol, but it's like Nutrafol.
That's the hair
supplement. No. I don't need that.
Dude,
All
you
natural.
got a good head of hair.
I definitely, I don't need any hair products or any of those hair products.
That doesn't mean you can't sponsor the pod though, Nutrafol.
If you want, I'll shave my head right now, Nutrafol, so you can show my great improvement.
It's true, yeah. We could. What if the loser of the roast battle shaves her head? Maybe not that extreme.
Maybe if we had some more subscribers, but I'm not going to shave my head for Zach and Brittany, Nate the hater.
Let's address the haters for a second. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks to all the listeners and supporters.
love you guys, mostly.
Yeah, love you. Thank you we wouldn't be here without you. But to our haters,
Nate Dog.
you know who you are. We're closing in, I think, on maybe the end of your attention span. But if you should stick around till the end of the podcast where we reveal one damning secret about our hater, Nate.
Yeah,
So stay tuned for that.
it's a brutal one.
The speaking of Nate, it does bring us to one of the topics that we have for this week is New York City cyclists.
Mm-hmm.
Now that it's warmer, actually, I feel like the congestion pricing in Manhattan, because I'm going every day, I've seen a noticeable improvement. But it does seem like the cyclists are more unhinged, like as unhinged as ever. I saw this guy going down Park Avenue, like cycling north on Park Avenue, basically in the middle of the street, and cars like honking for him to get out of his way, and it was just no helmet, no anything. I feel like they've got to be reined in, the cyclists.
Yeah, I've had this idea for a long time. Let me lay it on you.
Okay.
Whenever someone, probably not their first strike, but even, let's call it a 5-strike policy. We can be generous.
That's generous, yeah.
Once,
5 strikes and
riding the wrong way
yeah.
down the street, riding on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
down the middle of the street, very common, super annoying. You just confiscate the bike, it's gone forever, and then we melt it down, and we let artists build sculptures with the recycled aluminum.
So
It's a public art project, and it'll get these bikers off the goddamn sidewalk.
have you seen when the city did that too? They didn't do that exactly, but when they used like a tractor to run over all the mopeds they confiscated?
Yeah, I loved it, but they didn't take it far enough because they didn't reuse the mopeds.
Yeah, it does seem wasteful.
Yeah.
How many offenses do you think are required to have you deported to a Salvadorian prison?
They'll deport themselves without the bike.
You're saying if they don't have a bike, they would deport themselves?
They'll self-deport. They'll say, I can't deliver for Uber Eats. How can I make a living? I've got to go back to El Salvador. This is why I'm a next-level thinker, Brian.
That's true, yeah. The cyclist to CCOT pipeline
Yeah.
is hiding in plain sight. They do. I think the riding on the sidewalk, blowing through stop signs is like the thing that gets me the most, because it does contribute to the sense of just like there are no rules and disorder, and cars do it too.
Yeah.
So now I'm old enough to remember seeing people get arrested for blowing stop signs.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if you were penalty of running through a stop sign on an unmarked moped or electric bike was punishable by
Getting arrested, probably.
3 life sentences in CCOT, I feel like people would be singing a different tune.
What about this, just like a little bit less fascistic? This is another one I've considered. If you see someone
So
breaking...
just to recap, you've got the Public Works Project.
Yes.
Okay.
If you see someone breaking a traffic law on a bicycle, you are fully within your rights to push them over off their bike.
Oh, yeah.
And they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, sometimes when I see them coming, I will brace for impact and kind of lower my shoulder in case they blow through it. Not because I'm looking for contact, but I just want to be prepared in case they do, because I'm gonna wipe out much worse than they are if I don't if I don't provide any resistance.
So you're a city boy. How good are you at riding a bike?
I would say passable,
Yeah.
but I'm definitely not. I don't feel comfortable with my own bike riding skills to avoid opening doors, like cab drivers, now like DoorDash delivery people, and it feels like I think the amount of risk that you take is not proportionate to like I'm gonna cut my commute time by 20 minutes.
You feel the wind in your hair?
Yeah,
Nah.
it's just not worth it. I don't think. I would bike in like a closed community or like a suburb or something.
Like on a beach.
Yeah.
During the day.
But I think as a mode of transportation, like it is extremely efficient, but it's not worth it to me. Just seeing how many trucks are in the bike lanes, how insane people are. I saw that online that people published the license plates with the most traffic violations, like speeding violations, and somebody got like 500 tickets last year.
That's pretty funny.
I
I like that. I support that. So after like 300, after 365, I'm with it.
It's more than a ticket a day.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Have you ever gotten a ticket?
Parking tickets only.
Have you ever been pulled over?
I don't think so.
Me neither. I try not to say it out loud because I don't want to invoke.
I was in a car that was pulled over, but I wasn't driving a couple times.
Nice. Yeah, that's happened to me. Did they ask you anything?
The one time they asked me if we had been drinking. They thought our friend Charles had been drinking. He hadn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was a whole bit of a thing.
Yeah. Did they make him do a sobriety test? Did he pass?
Yeah. He was stone cold sober.
And were they watching you guys, or did he like blow a stop sign or something?
I think he was just speeding.
Oh.
But I think it was like a common speed trap.
Yeah. So I just came back from North Carolina. People in North Carolina were driving painfully slow and seemed to be oblivious to the rules of the road. I think that was making my as like I think maybe I'm used to driving too much in Florida where there are no rules.
Yeah.
That I felt like I was in the twilight zone with how people refuse to move over from the left lane when there are cars that are clearly going faster than them.
We had a friend in college who told me he grew up in North Carolina his whole life. If his mother was in the car, just like driving down the road, and she saw someone speeding, she called 911 every time.
And reported it?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's like, that's dangerous. You shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. Just like around the neighborhood, or even if she was driving and she saw a speeder, she would call.
Yeah, no, like if she was on I-77
Yep.
and someone blew past her in the left lane doing 90, she would call 911.
Would she follow them?
I don't know about that.
It'd be cool if it was like more vigilante like.
Well, like the bikes.
Yeah.
I think I like bike vigilantes. Car vigilantism is too dangerous.
Do you think New York is in need of more or less vigilantes?
More. Always more.
I saw.
They're so cool.
So have you ever been in an incident where you could have been the vigilante, like you're observing a crime being committed?
Yeah, I guess.
I've seen some.
Sure,
recently.
yeah, I've seen some crimes, but like crimes that I cared about, that, like I should be putting a stop to this. Once, and I think there were a couple of guys who were kind of looking at each other like, if we may have to do something about this.
What was happening?
I was at the Barclays Center, like Atlantic Avenue, waiting to get on the subway.
Okay, you were coming from a game?
I don't know. I was probably coming from like Target, and some guy just kept following this woman up and down the platform.
Oh, okay.
And it was like this is not good.
It was looking weird.
It was looking weird. It was just like uncomfortable. And I remember I had Philip Roth's biography on me. It was a pretty fat book.
Yeah.
I was like, worst comes to worst, I'll just bash him with old Phil.
I'll bore him to death with Philip Roth.
It's a good book. I'm a big Philip Roth fan. The biography was pretty good too.
But at the time it was an attack weapon.
Yes.
Okay. And
But then I think we all just got on the train and like the bum didn't, and
that
it was
was
fine.
good. Okay. I heard a story of a friend of mine who he was on the subway and there was like a crazy guy, like just talking to himself, classic New York subway psycho. And that I think it was like 10, 11 o'clock, so it was late, but it wasn't like super late. And I guess they were the only two people on the platform. And they either made contact or something, they made eye contact, and he said something towards him. And he instinctually just like cracked his knuckles, like in case something was going to go down. And that set this guy off. That he was like, oh, you actually want to fight? And that then he got even more, like much more aggressive, and then he just like took off running. But he sort of, I think, escalated the situation by just cracking his knuckles.
In high school, I used to be alone with like one or two other people all the time on the subway because I lived at the very end of the subway and I'd get home late.
I remember,
one time my friend Adam and I were on the subway at like 2 a.m, wasted. And this guy, and we were stuck in between cars, in between stations, which often happens late at night.
Yep.
And some guy walked in from like the car ahead of us, and he's like, "You guys mind if I smoke some crack?"
Oh.
And we were like, "I guess not." So he just walked to the end of the car.
Did he offer you any?
No.
It's too bad.
He just like held the door open with his foot and exhaled smoke, like crack smoke out. And then we got off the next stop and went home. It's like, how much danger was I in right there? It felt like none, but maybe some.
If he was minding his own business, did you get a whiff of the crack?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know what crack smells like.
We were like fully on the opposite ends of the car. He was considerate about it.
Yeah, I mean, if they're respectful, what are you gonna do?
I don't know what any drugs besides weed smell like.
Yeah, I don't
when
think
you smoke them, at least.
Yeah. But speaking of smoke, we're gonna have a new pope soon. They're gonna do the smoke out of the chimney, and whenever they pick a new one. Have you been watching the conclave and these shows about the pope? I don't know. I guess their viewership has gone up since Francis died.
Don't care about the Pope one bit, unless like someone I know becomes the Pope. It's all a tie. Who cares? You'd be a good Pope.
How long was this guy the Pope? Thank you.
I don't know, 10 years maybe. Less.
He was
because there's that other the German guy was in there for a while. Yeah, the Nazi youth.
The Nazi youth, the Jungvolk.
Yes.
He was a member of that, right?
I believe he was. Yeah.
Benny. Is that guy dead?
I don't think so.
Did he get fired?
No, he quit. He resigned or retired.
Okay.
I guess is the word.
Yeah. What does a retired pope do?
Pray.
Yeah. Are popes celibate?
Mm-hmm.
Forever.
They're priests. Yeah.
Never, not once.
Well, I think like before you sign up, you can be, but I also think there's like you hear stories about these cardinals doing all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Haven't there been proposals to end that part of it, and that would solve some of these weird like predator issues? People think.
Yeah. I don't know about like I have heard that, but like I don't know. Are they signing up because they want an excuse to like not have a wife, or are they signing up because they know they're gonna have access to like lots of children indefinitely?
But if you wanted that, why not just work at a daycare?
Because probably there's like a little bit more suspicion. Like, would you ever let your kid go to a daycare that had a man working in it?
What if he's got a PhD in childcare?
Nope.
So you would never trust your kids with a manny?
Like let's say I had a kid and like you could babysit that kid, but I would not be bringing in outside strange men. I think a man who's seeking out children to hang out with all the time should be viewed with like the highest suspicion.
Yeah. So like we were recently talking about how weird how exploitative the like au pair experience can be. Mm-hmm. So I assume it's safe to say that a male au pair would be out of the question for you.
Absolutely. Like, obviously, I'm hiring the hottest possible au pair. It's the same rules as like an assistant or something.
But what do you think about this? We were talking about a reality TV show where the premise is Nightmare Au Pair, airing on TLC Mondays this fall.
What about this? I recruit an au pair from Germany to take care of Bob, my 6-year-old, and then they get here, and it's my dog. I'm like, I expect you to teach him to read.
And pick him up from school.
Yeah.
Enroll him in school. They're paid, right?
Yeah,
Or
I
is
think
it
they're paid, but like not that
minimum
much.
wage?
Yeah.
And they have to live with you.
It might be less than minimum wage because you're getting like the room and board built in.
Okay. Can you choose what country they come from?
Probably there are different like agencies. Like you gotta imagine you're paying a premium for a European. Like I don't, right? Like if you're gonna get like a British nanny, like that's the peak, right? You're gonna pay extra for that. Like a Mrs. Doubtfire type.
Yeah.
Mary Poppins.
The term au pair originates from the French phrase au pair, which translates to on par or equal to in English. The concept of an au pair developed in Europe, where young women from abroad would live with host families and provide childcare and light housework in exchange for room, board, and a small stipend, essentially being treated as part of the family. Sounds a little like indentured servitude to me.
I think it's a good deal. They get to come see America for a year.
It's like 1 or 2 years?
Yeah.
Au pairs versus nannies. What if you did like a gladiator style au pair versus nannies? That could be the spin-off to Nightmare Au Pair. Nightmare Nanny has a good ring to it too.
Nanny Nightmares. All right.
But back to the origin of the story, the Pope being dead. There's a lot of, isn't there a lot of palace intrigue about the kind of like inner depths of the Vatican and how they choose the new Pope and stuff like that?
Yeah, they vote. They've got the white smoke and the black smoke. But like, I don't know. It always comes back to South Park with me. Like, remember when they had like the Cardinals and it's like, we've got a solution to all of the church's problems. We're just going to stop molesting kids.
Allegedly.
And then all of the cardinals are like, no. Like, you know, it doesn't really matter, like, who they pick. Like, they're the pedophile defense organization for the world. They never really stopped. It's like a huge industry of moving priests around so they could molest people. Like, why am I cared with why should we be concerned with how they elect their leader?
Didn't they try to assassinate a pope once?
I think they've probably tried to assassinate loads of popes.
John Paul II, JP2?
Maybe him. My grandmother had a framed picture of him in her house when I was
Really?
growing up. Yeah.
Would she pray to him?
Maybe. I don't think she would, like, kneel under the Pope picture, but it was hanging in the staircase.
Oh, that reminds me of a funny "Are you garbage?" question. Where is it garbage to take a drag out of a cigarette while you're mid prayer?
That's rough.
Did you know that they have a card game?
I did see the card game. Did you buy it?
We should get the card game.
We should get the card game.
It'd be fun. One of the ones I saw recently that I thought was good was, have you ever been skiing in jeans?
Yes.
You have? Mm-hmm. Where?
In
skiing in jeans is crazy.
Like, I didn't want to be there, you know? Like,
how do you find yourself at a ski resort skiing when you don't want to be there? You live in New York City. How could you possibly find
we were in Connecticut, and I thought it was just going to be like a fun little weekend away, staying in an Airbnb, and everyone's like, no, we're going skiing. I was like, I wasn't paying attention.
My ski pants are in the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I skied in jeans for about 25 minutes and went back to the Airbnb.
Was anybody else in jeans?
Nope. Just me.
What color jeans were they?
They were blue.
How
Standard blue.
But like how light?
I think kind of dark, but like no one was confusing them for ski pants.
They were like clear, just
They were jeans. Yeah, they're like Levi's.
but
You know?
Levi's.
Standard.
Was it 538 or whatever?
501, I don't know, 510.
What was the boot cut on them?
It was winter. It may have been a boot cut. I was
Okay.
probably wearing boots, probably not ski boots.
You were wearing Tim's.
Yeah, I was probably wearing like
Did you
hiking boots.
Did you ever own Tim's?
When I was a kid, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you?
Did you keep the tag on? Like a little...
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you ever try Lugs?
No.
Lugs was like the off-brand Tim's. I think they had a partnership with the WWF at one point. They were like... Or like Def Jam. Remember like Def Jam, that wrestling game came out? I think they were like sponsors on stuff like that.
Tim's are cool. They're still cool. There's no way I could pull them off. I would look like such a freak wearing them. Like
Nah, you could rock a Tim.
You got to be like a construction worker or a hood rat, and I'm just like far from both groups.
But you're a Brooklyn yuppie. That's like
Yeah, but then I'm like, oh, look at that Brooklyn yuppie asshole with his Tim's on.
look at this guy cosplaying as a blue collar.
Yeah, it's not what I'm about. Even though the shoes are cool.
That's kind of the vibe here in Brooklyn.
Unfortunately, yes.
Cosplaying as a someone who swings a hammer.
Yeah. Speaking of that's the big reveal of our friend Nate. I'm gonna leave it here. Cosplayer.
What do you think Nate thinks about the Blue Origin women's trip to space?
I bet he loves it.
Yeah,
And that he supports it 100%. He
can
thinks
see him
it's girl power.
eating that shit. Did you see them floating, like with the let's make space
Yeah.
on thing?
They've had women in space since before either of us were born.
Yeah.
It was Sally Ride. And she went all the way up. None of this like float for 10 minutes.
Well, there was one of the astronauts that was stuck at the space station
For like a year,
was a
right?
woman. Is a woman. I just think it's funny that, you know, they rightfully so like being criticized for it just being so wasteful and kind of dumb, but then doubling down that it's not just like, yeah, we wanted to do this, fuck you. It's like, we did this for all women.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
girls.
But I do think most of the
That's
haters,
psychotic.
myself included, are just jealous. Like, I wish someone would send me to space in a rocket.
Well, I think that's where it's like, yeah, you just went on like went on like your friend's yacht, except
I would
it's a spaceship.
do that for the power to uplift women too.
There's nothing you wouldn't do.
If they're like, yeah, well, I mean, like, that's pretty easy. If, like, Matt, like, we want to do this to support women, but, like, you get to go to space for supporting women. Like, sign me up.
Sign me up, yeah. Did you see Wendy's was shitting on Katy Perry about it?
Yeah, I like Katy Perry. Firework, Teenage Dream.
Teenage Dream is your favorite song, right?
No.
That's what I always thought.
You're
I think of
thinking
you
of
when I
Decent.
hear- Oh, okay, maybe, yeah.
He loved Katy Perry. No, I like Katy Perry.
You don't think she's kind of washed?
Yeah, obviously she's got to be in her 40s, right?
Yeah.
But she was good when I was like of an age to be listening to that music. I like Katy.
So you if you're listening, Katie,
I support her.
all right.
I know you're listening, Katy. I know you're a fan. We know who's listening.
What if they played Absolute Power in space while they were up there?
One day.
Well, the problem is that the episode is too long, and
Yeah.
that you would need at least 6 trips up there.
It's true.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, we don't know what it's like, but it seems too new that I was like, what if we fucking
Something's gonna go
blow
wrong.
up?
Yeah.
What if we? Because
Hold that thought. I'm gonna run to the bathroom.
All
Sorry.
right.
Pause it. Perfect.
We're back, baby.
We're back. Yeah, so you're right. They haven't sent enough. Well, I guess they have sent a lot of people into space and a lot of satellites, and you don't see like a lot of rockets exploding, just kind of in the background. But how many people do they have to send for like space tourism before you would consider it?
I think I would not want to be in this part of the first million people that go to space.
Okay.
That's my threshold.
I think that's reasonable, but that probably does mean you'll never go to space. Would you rather
That's okay.
get sent to space or do the submarine where everyone died a few years ago?
Oh man, definitely space. I don't. I think I've started to feel even nervous flying on planes with how it feels like seemingly unsafe it's become, or just how common the stories are of shit catching on fire. Like there was some the other day where I guess there were a lot of like rabbits on the runway, and one of them got sucked into the engine, and the engine like lit on fire.
That's crazy.
I think the part that's nuts is that like a flock of birds or anything like that could just take a plane down.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen.
But it could.
It could.
Like these helicopters.
Would you ride in a helicopter? Way more than 1 million people have ridden in helicopters.
No way. No, absolutely not.
Me neither.
No helicopter. Well, I think if you look at the way, like helicopters are like literally trying to rip themselves apart in midair. You know, that's why you need that like back router, because it's like the it's trying to like unscrew itself,
right,
because of how it's spinning, and just like, you know, so like spinning in opposite directions. So you need something to keep it stable. So yeah, just the idea that this thing is trying to tear itself apart in midair doesn't really appeal to me. Like the time savings of avoiding traffic or whatever doesn't seem worth it to me.
What if they let you go up in like a Black Hawk and fire the guns? Would you go up and do that?
Where are we? Warzone or just in?
I don't know. You're on like the
Desert.
outskirts of Las Vegas at a bachelor party.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
That would be pretty cool.
That could be cool, yeah. If it's there's something about like the Black Hawk like military helicopters that they look safer. Like what's the one the president travels in called?
Marine One.
Marine One. Like that, I would get in that. I don't think that I would get into one of these rinky-dink tourist helicopters that just crashed into the Hudson.
No. Then like the tourists who do the thing where they dangle their legs out of the helicopter,
Hell no.
they deserve
That's a
whatever
thing?
happened. Oh yeah.
I've never seen that.
Yeah,
That's-
they fly over like Central Park and dangle their legs out.
But they're harnessed
Sometimes.
in.
Apparently, some of these people are kind of loose about it.
Oof. I don't think I like that.
No.
What
about a little propeller plane? Would you do that?
No, I don't think
Nah.
so. They're like those Cessnas,
Yeah.
like single engine planes. Nah. That's how all these like ex-professional baseball players and shit die, where they're just like Roy Halladay died like that. His plane just went into the ocean over the Gulf, like the Gulf of Mexico, and that was that.
Yeah.
Like the solo plane. There were these two guys in high school that I think for some reason this guy had access to a plane, and he would go to the Manchester airport and in Manchester, New Hampshire, and go on like these joy rides, flying these planes. I think he owns like an aviation company now, but he's like been piloting for a long time. It's on paper it sounds cool, but I don't really want to be involved in that.
It seems stressful.
It's like why the same reason I don't like motorcycles.
Yeah. I
It's
wouldn't want to do that either.
Not something that interests me that much, and I don't really have the desire to go that fast.
You like a roller coaster, though?
I do love a good roller coaster, yeah.
We should add that to the summer to-do list. Back to Six Flags.
Back to Six Flags Great Adventure.
We went for your birthday. What was it? That must have been like 10 years ago.
Yeah, probably something like that. I think I was still living in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should go. You know when's a good time to go? Memorial Day.
Because everyone's out of town.
Everybody's at family barbecues and shit. It's a hack I've been doing for years. If you go on the Monday of Labor Day or Memorial Day,
No lie.
it's very empty, and you can just, like, in some cases, ride it just over and over again.
Consider that. I don't think I have any plans for Memorial Day.
We should go.
All right.
And we can. The one where I'll draw the line is I don't like the. I don't think it's not called the Tower of Terror at Six Flags, but you know what I'm talking about. It's just the needle where you just like go all the way up and then it drops you down.
Did you see the video of that kid who fell out?
In Orlando, right?
I think so. He was just too big of a boy. The bars didn't close.
It's pretty graphic.
Yeah.
Look at him like yesterday on Twitter, I got recommended these like don't watch these videos if you have a weak stomach. So like I had to watch, and it's just straight up like people dying.
Yeah.
Like there was one where these guys jump out. It's like base jumping. These guys jump out of a building. One guy's like attached. The other guy's facing him with his legs wrapped around him but not hooked in. And then they're flying off, and then like the last 10 seconds of the video, you just see this thing drop. It's pretty graphic.
I saw one, this was on Reddit. I'm sure it got taken off Reddit pretty quickly, where like 1 in a million chances. This bus was making like a tight turn, and this guy was kind of leaning forward, and the bus, he got his head stuck between the bus and like a street light, and his head just popped off.
Oh my god!
It's like I gotta
you
stop
watched
watching
this?
these.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was watching until
That's
it was
the thing.
too late.
Yeah, you don't know, and then you watch something heinous like
and you're
that.
like, I just watched a guy's head fall off.
Just watch the snuff film.
Yeah, by accident.
That was the thread. It was like 10 of these, where it kept getting like more and more gruesome. Of just like really, it's like. It also wasn't like these catastrophic things. Like somebody fell from like a 3rd-story balcony.
See, that I can get down with. Like I like watching people get injured.
No, they died.
Oh.
Dead, 100%.
Head first.
Just like I wasn't watching it in slow motion, but there was definitely like head to cement contact.
Yeah, that's not what I want to see.
So it caught me off guard on Twitter with that content.
Yeah.
We for the roast battle, maybe we can incorporate some sort of crazy video element to it.
Yeah, and fans, we'd like to hear from you, like topics you'd like to see Brian get roasted for. Open to ideas.
True.
Hit us up in the messages.
Yeah. Stay tuned for the future roast, Matt and Brian roast battle, and then our review of Six Flags
Maybe
in a
we'll
couple weeks.
Do a live pod from Six Flags.
A live pod from Six Flags could be, yeah. We could do
just 1 minute at a time pod on the ride.
Oh, okay, yeah. Maybe get a GoPro.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, let's do it.
See you there, fans.
Yeah, stay tuned. Later. Yeah, I thought it was good. Recording some more B-roll.
Feel it, mate.
Yeah.